Okay, so we are now recording, and this is the University of Wyoming admin training. What we're going to do today is we're going to go over the background information for the admin settings in Canvas, such as settings, accounts and sub-accounts, courses and users, statistics, SIS imports, and then also the shared resources, such as outcomes, rubrics, grading schemes, and question banks. Okay, to begin with, you have in Canvas, you have 3 different instances of Canvas, 3 different environments. You have your production, which is where you'll do all your work, and that's where all your students and everybody will work in. But you also have a test site that is a direct mirror of that production site. So you can go in that test site and practice and learn Canvas without worrying about messing up your production site. You can also do SIS imports into your test site to test to make sure that they come in cleanly before you bring it into your production site. So the test site will reset every 3 weeks along with the production site. So we don't have versions of Canvas. We don't have 1, 2, 3. We just continually update Canvas every 3 weeks. And we have an update coming out on Saturday. So there's going to be a few changes that will be happening this Saturday. If you go to help.instructure.com, there's a middle tab here for release notes. You can click on the Canvas production release notes to see what's going to be released on Saturday. You can also, you'll notice below that there's a beta release notes. So you also have the beta site where you can go in and test what is the engineers are currently working on. And to get into either of those sites, all you need to do is in your instance of Canvas. My instance is called mycanvas.instructure.com. So in the middle, you would just insert .test.instructure.com. And that will take you to your test site in Canvas. And you'll also have, just type in beta, and that will take you to your beta site. And again, they look exactly the same. The test site will reset every 3 weeks, along with the updates in Canvas. And the beta site resets every week on Sunday. So if you put some information in the beta site on Saturday and you notice it's gone on Sunday or Monday, that is because it refreshes every week. So you don't want to put anything in your test site or your beta site that you want to keep. It's strictly for practice. Okay. So we're going to go into my settings, my admin settings. So you go through the courses and groups in order to get to your settings. The navigation in Canvas is always on the left-hand side, whether it's for your admins, your courses, your individual navigation, and groups as well. So this will navigate you around the system. The middle is your work area, and on the right is usually some tools that you can use to edit, save, filter the data in Canvas. So I'm going to click on the settings on the bottom left to open up the settings, and we'll go through some of the features we have here in the settings. You want to make sure your time zone, I believe you guys are in the same time zone as us, so this should not matter at all. But if you have users that are in a different time zone, they can edit the time zone at their level, or you could change that for them. That way they don't have to calculate the time difference. You can allow teachers to rename their courses. This is something to think about if you want to allow teachers to do that. So you would just uncheck this. If you want to prevent teachers from renaming the courses, then you would check the box. This basically, if you're going to bring in your course names and everything through the SIS import, you might want to keep the names consistent, but it's up to you if you want teachers to be able to change the names of the courses. Also, you'll see that you can allow students to opt into receiving their scores in an email notification. Anytime something is graded, a student will receive a notification letting them know it's graded. So it will say assignment 1 is graded. So the students can also, if you allow them to, go into their own personal settings. So in the corner on the right, I'm clicking my name to go into my notifications. Again, my personal navigation is on the left. And now you notice towards the middle, there's the grading. When you hover over it, you can see what each item means. And there's this box here that it says to include scores when alerting about grades. So you're just giving the students this option so they can check this box, and then it will say assignment 1 was graded, you got an A or a 90%, depending on how it was graded. So you're giving them that option. And the reason why we have this as an option for you, because students could have their notification sent to their Facebook account, they could have it sent to a Yahoo, something outside the system, and some schools don't want that for privacy issues. So you have that option here if you want to allow that. You can also restrict students from viewing their courses before the start date here as well. If I scroll down a little bit, you'll see this quiz filter IP address. What you can do here is you can link, if you have a testing center on site that instructors want their students to take their quizzes or test online in, or a computer lab or something like that, you could put in the name and the filter IP address here, so when the teachers are creating the exam, they have those options below that they want the students to take it in the testing center or computer lab or whatever it is. So you would just name the lab or the testing center, and then this question mark will show you how to set up the IP addresses. So that way when the students, if you're just making a convenience for the teachers to allow them to have that option, and you can create various labs. You can also do this at the sub-account level, such as department level, if you would like to too. So you can do that at different areas. Teachers can also do this at the course area as well. So it can happen on all levels. The next item here is the features. So some of the features to be aware of, users can edit their display name. So if I go back to my own personal settings here, you're allowing students to change, and teachers to change their display name here. On the right-hand side, they can edit settings. This is also where they can change their time zone. But you can have them change their name. So if their name is Margaret, for example, but they go by Peggy, nobody might know their name is Margaret. So they would want to change their name so that people recognize who they are. However, if you allow Peggy to do that, you'll also allow people to put in Harry Potter, Batman, Wolverine, all different kinds of names as well. So it's up to you if you want to have this change. This would also allow teachers to put in Dr. Instead of their first name, or Mr. or Mrs. So it's something to think about if you want to allow that. You as an admin can always change students' and teachers' display names. You can also allow them to delete their institution-assigned email address. So over on the right, you'll see that there's ways to contact. The star is the institutional email address. So you're allowing them to delete this, and they can add their Yahoo and other accounts to be or have that as their default. So it's up to you if you want them to be able to delete the email that you set up. If you have Aquella and Turnitin, you can turn this on at the account level or the sub-account levels. That way, in case you have like one department, maybe the English department is using Turnitin, then they would be able to turn this on just at that department level as well. If you turn it on at the account level, you're making it available to all of your users. Analytics is the statistical visual of what's going on your site. So this is a good one to keep turned on, because then you can see how people or how your students are doing in a visual way, how your instructors are using Canvas. So this gives you some valuable information. And then also user avatars. This is the picture. So you're allowing your students and teachers to put their picture in here. And this is usually one of the top things that we get in our Canvas guides is, how do I add my picture? So this is something students really like to have. They just hit the pencil and they can add their picture. If you allow them to have their profile, this profile in their navigation, it's like just a little bio, and they can have links that they like, information about themselves, and they can also add their picture here as well. So you have a couple of places where you can have users add their pictures. The next item is the global JavaScript and CSS. This is where you can brand your site as well as do other items to adjust Canvas. So you'll notice that by default it's gray with the Canvas logo, so you can put the University of Wyoming colors and your logo up here in the corner to allow, have your students have the look and feel as it is your website. And if you decide to do that and you need any kind of help, Chris can help you get this set up. You can also have sub-accounts have additional colors and logos and things like that. So you can also allow it for the sub-accounts to do that. So You know, if the Department of Nursing has a special, you know, colors and a logo or something, they could also put that in here as well. Next is the custom links to include in the help dialog box. So in the upper right-hand corner, we call this the help corner, by default, all students have Ask Your Instructor a Question. Everybody has Search the Canvas guides and Report a Problem. Only teachers have Ask the Community, and everybody has Request the Feature. So these are the default help links that we have. You can add additional links, so if you have your own support center that you want to make available, or other things that are related to campus that you feel would be useful for your students to have access to, you can add those here. So here's like an example for a help desk. The URL, obviously it's not the right URL, so you can put in the URL so that when the students click the help and click that link, it will take them out to that URL. You can make it available for all of your users, or just students, or just teachers, or just admins, or maybe just users and students and teachers. So you can decide who sees that in their help corner. And again, you can add, using this add a help link, you can add additional ones if you would like. Okay, next is the enabled web services. These are the services that the user would already have to have an account in, and you're just linking these to Canvas. So again, if I go to my own personal settings here and I scroll down, you'll see that I can register all of the services. So I've already done 4 of them. If I wanted to do LinkedIn, I would just register my account. So the users would already have to have an account in these items to link them to Canvas. It's just a way to link to other services that they commonly use. And Google Docs can be linked with collaborations inside of Canvas as well. So these are just tools for your students and teachers to be able to have easy access between the services they're already using. Okay, and lastly, who can create new courses? As admins, you can always create new courses. However, you can also let teachers, students and users with no enrollment add courses. So it just is another issue is that you want to think about is, do you want only having the courses added through the SIS? What type of controls do you want? Or do you want to allow teachers just to create courses as they go? If you make any changes above, be sure to update the settings. So whenever you see a blue button, be sure to update, save, to make sure that your changes stick. The next item in the tabs is the course quota. By default, you get 500 per course, 50 per user, and 50 per group. This is the average, so you'll have some that will use more, some that will use less. Most people keep this at the default quota, but if you want to up this knowing some will use more and some will use less, you can do that as well. The notifications, when I said assignment 1 was graded and you got an A or just assignment 1, when they get those notifications, they will come through Instructure Canvas, and that can be confusing. And I noticed you already did change that, so that's awesome. So you can put in your name of your school. That way they know it's not spam and they know it's coming from you, because it will have the school name. It will still say notifications at Instructure, but at least they see that it's from you. So by default, with the admins here, you only have the account admin at the account level role, and this position or this role can do everything in Canvas. So they have the rights to do everything. So you may have roles that you don't want them to have all of the rights. So you can create additional roles through the Permissions tab on the left-hand side. So when I click the Permissions here, I can hit Account Roles. And by default, again, you have the account min, which has all of the green check marks. But you can create chair people, you can add outcomes guru, support staff, teacher admin, whatever type of roles you may have at your account. Deans that have special permissions, and you would just look through and decide what you want them to be able to have the ability to do. You would just check on it, and you can enable it. You can enable it and lock it so that it can't be changed other than you. So you have some different options, or disable it. So when you add a new role, they have all red checks, so you need to go into those and decide which you want, what items you want that role to do. And then if you create these at the root account level, all of the sub-accounts will have these, and they can create additional ones as well. So they can just use a drop-down to add their roles for their users. You also have roles at the course level. So you have student, TA, teacher, designer, and observer. These are the default roles for the courses. And again, the teachers have access to do everything, and the other roles have some access and some not. Whenever you see a box or a X that doesn't have a box around it, you cannot change that role. That's the default, and you cannot change it. Otherwise, if it does have a box in it, you can go in and enable it or disable it. And again, you could add additional roles. So if you have presenters that come into your courses a lot, you can add additional, like a presenter type role to that course to give them some course permissions, and then you can just add them to that course. So they have access to the course based on the permissions you allow them to have. So if I go back to my settings and then the admins tab again, I have a lot of admins in here. So if I scroll down, I can add an account admin, and now you see that the drop down includes all of those roles. So I could add a chairperson and then put their email in there and hit continue, and they would have all of those permissions that I set up to do at that account or sub-account level. So you're just creating various roles that you want people to have in your account or sub-account. Next is the announcements. We just recommend that you use these sparingly. So if school's canceled for some reason, I-80's closed, there's a blizzard, you could put that in here so that your users will know that that school is closed from home before they leave. You could also, but we just recommend don't use this to just say good morning or happy, whatever, because when they log on, this is the first thing that they'll see, and if they see this, they'll know it's something urgent. So we just recommend to use these sparingly. The reports here, you have 4 different reports, but in the new release, you're going to have a lot of reports. So there's going to be a long list of reports that are going to be coming out Saturday. So I recommend looking at the release notes here and familiarizing yourself with the various reports that are coming out. These 4 reports, you have your student competency report. These are based on outcomes created at the account level. So for example, if you have, if the nursing department, for example, has outcomes that they want all of their nurses to meet before, or you just want to keep tabs on if they're mastering those things that they need to know. In this case, it's a computer programming, computer science, where students can write basic Ruby. You can run a report, so you would create those outcomes at the account or sub-account level. Then you can run this report. It will let you know the student's name, the ID, so the student information, the learning outcome information, if they mastered it, what their score was, and then the course information. This will be pulled in a CSV file by term, and you can then bring it into Excel and manipulate the data as you see fit. But this is the only way that you can run this report, as if the outcomes were created at the main account level, the root account, or at the department level, for example, computer science department or the nursing department. And when you configure it, it will be by terms. So you would have the terms that you would select that you want that report run in. The next is the grade export. Similar report, it will pull the data from Canvas based on how the students are doing. It'll have the student information, the course information, and how they're doing, as well as the terms. Again, this is also configured by terms as well. The SIS export report, this report will export all the files from the SIS import that you brought in. So this will export the data. This is a good way to compare if the information that you brought in is accurate. You can pull this report, so it's configured by terms again, and then you would just decide which items that you want this report to have included in it. And lastly is the provisioning report. This is the report that will export data based on Canvas. An example of how you would use this report is when you configure the report. For example, if you want to bring a course back to life that was previously deleted, You could select courses and then include deleted objects for a specific term. So if you want to bring a course back that you deleted and it was from fall 2012, you could run this report, and then it will show up all of the courses from fall 2012, including those deleted ones. That way you can find that course that you deleted to get the ID. And then over on the left-hand side in the admin tools here, you could restore that course by putting in the course ID and finding it, and then you can bring that course back to life. So that's an example of how you would use the provisioning report. So that's just basically pulling information that you created inside of Canvas. And then lastly, we have our apps. So this is our App Center, and you can go in here and add various apps. For example, you could add Khan Academy, and all you have to do is click the little tile, and then add Tool, and then Submit, and this will add Khan Academy to your editor button. So when your users are using the rich content editor to create assignments, complete assignments, create pages and everything within Canvas, this will show up in the rich content editor so that they can use that tool. You can also use, like if you have McGraw-Hill, for example, you can add this tool. However, you would have to contact McGraw-Hill to get the consumer key and secret to add it to your App Center. So when you want to see the items that you added, you just click View Apps, and then you can see where it's located, if it's in the navigation, which is the left navigation, or again, the editor button. If you wanted to add a link to the navigation on the left and connect it to another URL, you can do that using this curved arrow, the redirect tool. And this tool, when you add it, you would just put in the link name, where you want it directed, so what's the URL that you want this to link to. You could have it show in course navigation, user app navigation, or account navigation, and/or account navigation. So you have different options. If you put it in the course navigation, it will show up in every one of your courses course navigation. However, the teachers can hide it so that the students don't see it and they don't use it in their course. So you're just creating a convenience. The teachers can also use this redirect tool at the course level. So if there's something they want to link to, they can do that as well at the course level. And then on the far right, you have some options. You can show courses for a particular term. You can also find a course, find a user, add a new course, and add a user. And you will see this in the Users tab and the Course tab as well. So this will show up on the right-hand side in a few other places as well. So these are all of the settings that you have for the admin settings. So do you have any questions on any of these that we've gone over, or you would like me to show it again? Okay, so we'll go into the account.
We don't at this time, sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. So we'll go into the accounts and sub-accounts, and I saw on your site that you have these, some already set up. Basically, in Canvas, you can structure and organize your course via sub-accounts. This top level here is my root account. So everything I do at my canvas.instructure.com affects everything in my account. All of my users will be hanging out here, all of my courses, everything I do in Canvas will be at this root account, as well as all the settings. But I can organize this as well to have additional ways to organize the course. So you can kind of think of your root account as the dresser and your sub-accounts as the drawers within those dressers. And then you can even compartmentalize and have little compartments inside those drawers that will have the specific departments. So you can break it down to different levels. So then anything I create at the College of Science will only affect the College of Science and everything below it. And anything I create at the Department of Aerospace here will only affect the Department of Aerospace. So if I create a role at the Department of Aerospace, like the department chairperson, he will only have those permissions in that role in this department. He won't be able to see or do anything for the other departments within the College of Science. If I create a role at the College of Science level, he will have or she will have permissions to manage everything below it. So it trickles down. So it goes from the top and trickles down. If you create something at the lowest level, it stays there. It doesn't move up. So course things that are created stay at the course. Department things here will stay at this department. So if I open up this College of Science in a new link, as well as the Department of Aerospace, you'll see that the College of Science has the users and statistics, and this is all based on all of those departments that reside in the College of Science. In the settings here, I can create admins. I can add an admin, and there I have that drop down, so I could add the chairperson. And this person would only have this role for the College of Science and all the departments within it. And you'll also notice that in here, if I go to the navigation on the left, the sub-accounts do not have access to SIS imports or authentication or terms. That's only done at the root account level. But they do have access to all of the other items in the navigation. If I go into the Department of Aerospace, I'll only see the courses related to aerospace. The users will only be those that are connected with this sub-account, so you can have users in 3 different sub-accounts. They can be in multiple sub-accounts. Because again, they just hang out at the root account until when they're assigned to it, they're also in those other areas. So as you can see in the breadcrumbs, you have your root account, the College of Science. Anything I do in this affects the next level, so it trickles down. If I go into settings at this department level, I can make some of the settings. So there's the quiz IP filter address. I can turn some of the features on, and I can also manage my JavaScript and CSS here. So you have some ability to do those items, as well as add the admins and run reports for this department and add apps. So you have a lot of the same features, and you can also create outcomes at this level that will affect all of the users in this department, as well as rubrics, grading schemes, and question banks. To add a sub-account, if you want to have it be a sub-account of the root account, you hit a plus next to that item, and it will create a new category. If you want to add a sub-account within a sub-account, you just hit a plus. So you just hit the plus sign next to the area that you want to add that sub-account in. So you can create various levels. If you want to delete it, you just hit the garbage can, and that will delete that sub-account. However, you can't delete a sub-account if there's any kind of courses in it. You would have to move those courses and the sub-accounts that are in there first before you can delete that item. Do you have any questions on the sub-accounts and how those are set up? Okay, so we'll go to the terms.
No, we don't, thanks.
Okay, sure. We'll go to the terms, and by default, the terms run from whenever to whenever. So that means that those are always available. And you do have a default term in your system, and you can leave that as whenever to whenever. So those could be professional development courses, sandboxes, things like that that teachers would want to always have access to practice, or to learn more, have like a place that you're storing professional development, like certain courses to help your teachers out. So those are kind of the courses that you'd want to leave always open. However, you could add a new term at the bottom, and just make sure that when you add a term, that the term name is identifiable, because in Canvas, terms are used to filter data. So as you saw when we went through a lot of those settings and reports, you could filter the data based on terms. So you want to make sure that you have the terms that are identifiable. Like here, the Summer Institute 2013, like Fall 2014, or 2013, Spring 2014. So you just want to make sure that your terms are very identifiable. You can always have overlapping terms too. So if you have mini semesters or quarters within the semester, you could have those as well. So you can have overlapping dates. You just want to make sure the term name is, and if you have in the SIS here, is relevant to, so you know exactly what it is. So you just want to make sure it's easy identifiable. So the term, you would put in the start and end date for that term. And then once the term is up, then that course goes into a read-only format. So you would want to maybe give longer access to your students and teachers so that they can access that course for a little bit longer. Like students might have late assignments they want to turn in, so you could go in and give them additional time. Teachers might need additional time to create the course and to finish grading, so you might want to give them additional terms. So this below here is the access that your users can access that course before it's available and before afterwards, before, so it's not just read-only. So when it's read-only, they can still view the course, they can still see the homeworks that they've turned in, they can see the assignment information, and they have access to everything in the course. However, they can't participate in discussions anymore, they can't turn in assignments. So once this term date is up, it goes into read-only format, unless you give them additional access down here below. So that is the term date.
We have a question for you.
I just have a question about the read-only. Once it's read-only, can it go back? Can you extend that date?
Sure. So you can extend that date, and at the course level, you can also extend that date. When it's read-only, when the user goes in to view all of their courses here, it will pull up the list of courses. Most people won't have as many as me here, but it will pull up the whole list of courses, and at the bottom you'll have a list of past enrollments. So these are courses that are read-only. So I can go in here and open up a past course, and then I can see the information for that course. So as a student, I can go in, and I'm logged in as a teacher, but I can go in and see everything. I just can't participate. So you can view the data. It's just like kind of like a PDF, although you can copy stuff, but you just can't go back and participate in the course and change grades or anything like that. It's just for viewing only.
Then is it, once it's become read only, can you? I guess why I'm asking is.
Oh yeah, I'll go into the settings here. You can bring it back to life. So I went into the course settings here, and then I can edit the course details, and then I can put additional dates in here. So I can bring it back to life here as well.
Okay.
So you would just select the dates. So actually it would be the end date. I would extend this out. And so now it should be available till February 2014. And then if I update the course details, it should come back to life. Because the dates that are in here will override the dates that the term has set up at the account level. So it should show up here in my courses. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And one other question that you might have already answered. So will students indefinitely have access to the read-only version?
Yes. You could change those dates as well, so that they, I forgot how to do that now. So there is a way, I'll find out how to do that exactly, so that because you don't want them to have access to it after a certain period of time. Is that what you're asking?
Well, I'm just wondering, because currently we'll occasionally have a student call up and they'll want access to a course from a couple semesters ago, because right now they can't even see the course once the term is over. And so we can grant them access, but it would be kind of nice if they could get in there and just see it without, in read-only, without asking us.
Oh, they'll be able to go in without asking you to the read-only. So that's always that's always available for you, for the students. It's just automatic that it's read-only format. And I'm actually going to the University of Utah here and taking courses, so I can go back. It's a master's program, so I can go back to stuff from my previous courses and get information that I can use for my current courses. So it's been really helpful to be able to access that course information from previous courses.
Thank you. I think Julie.
Sure. Dianna, does some of that information, like the term setup and some of that, come from the feed from SIS?
Yes, I believe it does. Yeah. And you can also import it through the CSV. So when we go in the SIS imports, data, you can set it up so that you can create all the terms and bring those in that way too.
Okay.
But yeah, so you could have like the SIS terms that you can bring them in through your SIS system.
And Diana, I want to extend Jeff's question. Frequently students receive an incomplete in a course, so they won't access to that course for up to 120 days. Now, does the instructor have to sort of open up the whole course to everybody for that period, or can that be set at an individual student level?
Right now it's for everybody. And I believe that's a feature request, so I'll find that and send that to you so you can link it too, because I believe that's a feature request that we have, that people want to be able to do it just for individual students.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? You guys have great questions. Okay. Okay, so we'll go up to the courses and the navigation. And so in Canvas, again, at the root account level, it will show the courses for every single course in your entire account. And you can sort these by your terms, so you can be able to filter them to shrink the list here, make it a little bit easier to find your way around. So as you can see, it changed. The blue means the course has been published, so in Canvas, a course has to be published for the students to have access to it. Once you publish a course, it cannot be unpublished, though. Then that's when you would work with those dates to change the the access for the users. So if it's blue, and the top part, I'll go to one that has a little bit more courses. The top ones here are all alphabetical based on if they're published or not. So when they're blue, they're published. When they're gray, they're not published yet. So if you ever have students that say that they can't get into their course or they're not seeing it, and you go in here and you notice it's gray with a hammer, then you know, okay, it hasn't been published. So it makes it very easy to recognize. If that is the case, when you hover, you can go to the title, and that will take you to the course. And you can also go, when you hover over, you'll see there's a home page, a statistics, and a settings tab. The settings will take you to the course settings where you can change those dates that I was showing you.
You can see the statistics.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
So after somebody has published a class, how do you go back? Like, if somebody published it and then wants to unpublish it, is that?
We change our dates on that setting screen, so we'll say students, so even though you published it on July 1st, you can go in today and say that students can't access it until August 25th.
Okay.
Correct, yep, exactly right.
Thank you.
Sure. And so then you can go to the home page here, and then you'll notice that it's unpublished. You just click the publish button and then publish the course. If you want to publish courses in a mass way, there is a way to do that through the API. But otherwise, they are one by one. Okay. So again, you can hover over and it'll take you to those various areas. So if I click on the settings, let me go to this one. Click on the settings for this advanced design course here. Again, I can edit the settings, and here are the dates that I can change to make that, if I don't want students to have access to a later date, or I want them to extend the date they have access to. I can do that there as well. Okay, so on the right-hand side too, you'll see that you can filter by terms, as I showed. You can find a course, so I could go in here and just type in a word and find all of the courses that have that in the naming convention, because as I mentioned, it does get kind of long. And then I can also find a user. I can manually add a new course or a new user here as well. So you have some options of how you want to handle courses. In Canvas, the course here is what holds the content. So courses house the content, and the sections are what holds the enrollments or the students. So you're connecting the sections to the content. So even if you don't create sections for your courses, by default, Canvas puts the student in a default section for that course. If you ever want to cross-list, so say your multimedia or your business school teaches business writing, but so does your English department, and it's actually the same teacher, the same content. It's just two different courses, but everything is the same. You can cross-list those sections, so you could take the business school students and bring them that section of students over into the English course. So you don't cross-list the content, you actually cross-list the students for that course. And if you get to that point and you want to do that, Chris will be able to help you with that as well, because that can be a little bit confusing. And you can do that through the SIS as well. So again, in courses, all of your courses list there. If you go into a sub-account, so the sub-account, this one's the College of Science, when I click on the courses, all of the courses for that sub-account will show up as well. So they'll both be at the account level and the roots account level, the sub-account level or the sub-sub-account level, whichever any level that's connected to, that will show up in. Are there any questions about the courses?
Yeah, just on the listing again. So for students, well, for everybody, courses are listed alphabetically, regardless of term. Is that right?
Right. And then you would filter on the right to filter by term, and then it's alphabetical by term.
Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. So we'll go into the Users tab. The users, just like the courses, are alphabetical, and you can also show these by term. So it'll only pull up those students for each term. And that way you can, and again, it's also alphabetical by term. So over on the right is where you would filter by term. You can also, if I go back to my default term, I can also find my users. So I can type a user's name, and it will search and find all of those users with that name that's related to it. So you can also filter that way. If I click on a particular person, so we'll pick on Marsha, I can go into Marsha's account as the admin. I can see her information. If she put an inappropriate avatar picture, I could remove it. I could also edit her information, so I could hit edit, and this is where I could change, like I gave that example of Peggy and Margaret. This is where I could change the user's name, or if a professor wants to go by doctor instead of his first name, I could change that here as well. I can also change the time zone, so if they're in a different time zone, they're taking an online class. Although the user can do this as well, I can go in there and do that too. And then again, anytime you see a blue button, an action needs to take place, so be sure to update the changes that you made. You can also become Marsha, so if you ever wanted to know what it was like to be her, you can click the Become button, and this will let you masquerade. So up on the right-hand side, you can go in and masquerade as the user. Again, this is only available for admins, and you can set different permissions, different admin positions that can or cannot do this. It's up to you how many people you want to have this ability. You'll notice at the upper right, it says that I'm in as Marsha Brady. On the bottom left, it reminds me I'm masquerading as Marsha Brady, and then on the bottom right, when I'm done, I need to stop masquerading. So this is here because you want, like for tech support, if Marsha calls and says she's having an issue and she needs to know what to do, like she can't figure it out, and it sounds very odd, you can go into her account and see it for yourself and try to see what's going on and figure it out. So that's why masquerading is so important. However, when you're masquerading, you're also able to check her conversations, you can reply to them, you can go in her courses and do her assignments and quizzes for her. So you're in her account as if it was her. So you just need to be very careful about doing this, and be careful about who you let have this role too. So then I'll stop masquerading, and because I was on Marsha's dashboard, it takes me back to my dashboard on my account. Now you can see I'm back in my account here. So I'll go back into the account settings and the users, and we'll go back to Marsha. So you can also, if you have duplicates of Marsha in for some reason, you can merge, and you can also delete her from her system here as well. when I scroll down, if I click the pencil here, I can edit her login, her SIS ID, or her password, so I have those options here as well. I can see her enrollments, what courses she's in, and what group she belongs to. And then here at the bottom, this page views, I'm going to make this smaller so you can see the whole thing, hopefully. You'll see that today at 10:48, Marcia was in on her page, but that was actually me masquerading as her. So on her page, when you're masquerading, it does not show up that someone was in her account masquerading as her. It looks as if she's doing it. So if you did do her homework for her and the teacher sees the page views, this is what you'll see, that it was Marcia that was actually in there doing that. So it shows up that it's actually Marcia that was doing it, even though you were masquerading. Okay, so again, the list of all of the users at your whole account. At the sub-account, it will show the users that are connected to each sub-account or department level, however you want to term it, but they'll show up here on the left. On the right-hand side, you'll see at the top right, there's a tab for View User Groups. This will be a list of all of the user groups that are available or that you can create in Canvas. So this, normally when you go in here, there won't be any tabs whatsoever. In order to create these tabs, you just on the upper right hit Make a New Set of Groups, and this will create a tab across the top here. So you can create, as the example here, you can make professional development groups, advisory boards, committees, faculty training, math clubs. You could have athletic association type things up here. So you could do a lot of different items up here. And once you have the tab, then you just, on the right of the inside, you click this little plus, and that's where you create the different groups within that tab. So you can have various groups under each of these tabs. And in Canvas, groups are for collaboration. So when you're in a member of a group, whether it's a course level or an account level, you'll have courses and groups show up here as the first tab. And I'll open up my group example here. And so the groups will show this navigation on the left. So as you can see, they're all collaborative. Announcements, wiki pages they can work on together, discussions, they can share files, they can have conferences like what we're doing now, where they can audio, video, share desktops, whiteboard, all of that in the conferences. They just can't record unless you have an account with Big Blue Button. And then collaborations. So these are all the different ways. The collaborations like a Google Doc or an Etherpad document where you can all work on together as well. So the groups in Canvas are basically just for collaboration. So it's nice that at the account level, you can create these collaboration areas, especially for like committees and things like that, that you want them to be able to collaborate. On the right-hand side, a list of all of your students will show up, and you can just drag them into the group. And so then they will be a member of that group. If you want to remove them, you can just take them out of that group and by dragging them out. And in courses, groups can also be created at the course level. It's through the People tab. And if the students have the People tab in their course navigation, they can also create groups on their own if the teacher allows it. That way they can have study groups for that course and be able to collaborate and study together. So is there any questions on the users? Okay. Next we'll go to statistics. And the statistics will give you some data about the count, like recently started courses, ended courses. Once you get more data in here, there'll even be more statistical analysis over here. On the right-hand side is where you see the View Analytics. This is the great visual of what's going on at your account. So as you can see the page views, they're in blue. And then who took an action. So you can see the actions that were taking place for each item as well. Then you can also see the activity by category. So you can see how your users are using Canvas. You can see quizzes are the most popular, then assignments, then pages. And you'll see that conferences and collaborations and announcements are low. So the collaborative ones are low. So is it that the faculty are not using these because they don't know about them? Are they not using them because they're not interested? Or, you could find out why the faculty is not using these items in Canvas. So this is a great way to see, how and why your and find out how and why your faculty are using what they're using in Canvas. So it gives you a good visual. You can also see the grade distribution of the students, and this is for your whole entire account. You can sort this data by term, so each term the data will change based on that term. So you could find out what's going on in your account this way. This data also you can check at the course level and the individual user level. So you can get visuals across Canvas on the different levels of these items. You can also, at the course level, see the interaction between the teacher and the student, how many conversations that they have between them. Okay, so that is the statistics. You can also see the analytics at the course tab too as well. Okay, so we're going to jump down to the bottom and go to the SIS import tab. This is where you can pull in SIS files, and you can do these through a zip file as well. You just please see the documentation, and it will let you know the data that you need to import here. For all the users, to import users, you need a unique user ID and login. It can be the same for a student, but it has to be unique to that particular student. You'll probably want to put their names, though, first and last name. And then the required is also deleted or active. And then it shows you what it needs to look like down here below. So it shows you what you need, what's required, and then an example that you need to use to pull it in. If you're going to do it this way, the best way to do it is create all of these on an Excel spreadsheet, for example, and then zip it, and then you can bring it all in. And as I scroll down, you'll see all the different areas that we have available. So you can put them in groups, you can create terms this way. Here's where you can cross-list. It lets you know what's required to cross-list. And then, oh yeah, there was a question about terms. Hopefully I'm not making you sick by going too fast here. But you can also do terms this way too. So this is the terms. The required fields are the term ID, which is like the SIS ID for that term, the name of the term, and then the status. You don't need to put in, the dates for access for your users, but you do need to have these first three items. But if you want the start and end dates, then, to give the teachers more time, you can put that in here as well. So this is the SIS import information. On the left-hand side, this is the API documentation. So you have the documentation to import SIS, and on the left side, you have access to do API tools in Canvas. So once you've created your file, you can browse and pull in the zip file for that document. So I have like this SIS import zip file. I can bring that data into Canvas, and then I chose the zip file CSV. You could also have this banner exchange. I don't have access to Banner, so I'm not sure exactly how that part works. And then if you want it to be a full batch update, when you bring in the files through the CSV like this, they're incremental changes, but this full batch update includes anything attached to a term such as a course, a section, an enrollment. And you can use this if you want to make sure that everything is exactly how you want it. However, if the item is not in the CSV file, it will be deleted. So you need to be careful about this full batch update, because if you're bringing it in, and if you select this and you're bringing it in and you have something in Canvas already, but it's not in this update, then it will be deleted from Canvas. So you want to make sure that when you select this full batch update, that that's exactly what you want to do. But if you don't have this box checked, then it will just be an incremental change. You also have the option to override UI changes. And basically, a UI change is when you made a manual change. Like if you manually created a term or a course, Canvas will refer to that as a sticky item, and they're items that you want to remain intact. So if you check this box, those manual changes will be overridden by the SIS import. So you just want to make sure that that's what you want to do if you do that. But if you do check this box and you want those changes overridden, you can also then have the ones that you overrode, I guess is that a word, processed as a UI change, so the next time you bring in an SIS batch, those items that you brought in previously will become sticky, or you can select that you want to clear those UI changes, so that the UI change that you brought in will not be made sticky. And so then once you have your, selection, you don't need to check any of these unless you want to. And then you process the data, big blue button, and it will let you know if the information was brought over. It will tell you how many accounts were brought in, terms. It will also show you down here if any errors were made, so you know where the error is and you can fix it. So this will provide all the data that you need about that batch update. So is there any questions on the SIS? And this is something, too, that the Chris's can help you with when you get to this point, if you have any questions, because can get kind of techy as well. Okay, so next we'll go to the shared resources in Canvas. You have outcomes, rubrics, grading schemes, and question banks. So outcomes are there to measure mastery of an item. So like in that example that I showed, it was to master using Ruby Basic. So to create a new outcome, you just hit the plus, name the outcome, you can describe it, and by default the outcome is exceeds expectation, meets expectations, and does not meet expectations. And the default points is 0, 3, and 5 with mastery at 3. You see you have a pencil here, so you can change the wording and the point value for each item. You can also insert, if you want more columns, you can also insert more criteria as well. And then once you're done, you save, and then that saved file will show up here on the left, or that saved outcome. You can also create a group. So the group creates these file folders. So you could create outcomes at your account level and have a file folder for nursing, computer science, English, whatever different departments that you have. Then everybody at your account has access to all of those outcomes. However, you could also create outcomes at the sub-account level and then have file folders for different things within that sub-account. So if it's the science department, they could have outcomes for biology, physics, so they could have their different ones in folders as well. So you have a couple of options of how you want to do it, but whether you add the outcomes at the account level or the sub-account level, the users within that level will be able to do it and use those, and so they don't have to recreate them. And they're also you're also able to run reports and get data based on those outcomes. So it's really important to, if you're going to have outcomes, that they create it at the highest level so the teachers can run reports and share them. So to use the outcomes, you would either put it, connect it to a question bank or in a rubric on the right here. So I'm going to click on Manage Rubrics on the right. You can also get to rubrics in the left navigation where it says rubrics. And you can add an account level rubric. So these are all account level rubrics. And again, this is a shared resource because you're creating this for your faculty, and then they can pull this rubric when they're doing their assignments. They can edit it and then make it their own, but you're creating the foundations for them to save them a lot of time from recreating those rubrics. So it defaults to some rubrics, so you can change that name. And then once you do that, you can have this pencil. When you hover over, a pencil appears, so you can change the description of, so it could be like 5 pages that the assignment has to be. It has to have good punctuation. So you could like create different things that you're grading that assignment on. The rubrics actually default to no marks or full marks, and you can change the wording on these as well, and as well as the point value. So in rubrics, it's 0 or 5, so it's either all or none. But if you wanted to create a category in the middle, you just hover over and a little arrow pops up, and then it automatically calculates the points between. So you would have to add the description that you want it to say. So no marks, so it says rating description, so I'd want to go in there and just say, we'll just say medium. So then I have my values there. I can also then add the rubric. So here's this little magnifying glass. When you see that, that means you can look for the outcomes at the account level. So I can pull those in. It will pull up my various outcomes, and I can say, okay, I want to import this one. And so you'll notice that the criteria that you've created for the assignment will show up here. And when I hover over each item, a little question mark will appear. However, when I hover over this outcome, I cannot edit the information. And you can tell an outcome because it has a little yellow tab next to it, and it says threshold is 3 points. And teachers are not allowed to edit these. That way, when you run the report, it's consistent among all of the teachers that are using that outcome. So we don't want teachers to change that. And then you would just create the rubric, and then the rubric would be here for the teachers to pull from and use in their courses. So is there any questions on that at all? So I can just show you here for an example. If I go into an assignments in a course, and I'm just in a random course here, so, and once the assignment is created, I can go down here below, and this already has one, so I'll delete this one. You'll see this add a rubric here, so I can click add a rubric. You'll see the little find rubric in the top right. This will pull up all of the account level rubrics that are available to me. So the Department of Mechanical Engineering, this is a department level, a sub-account level, and this is, or a sub-account level, and this is the root account level. So I can go in here and find the rubric that I want to use for this assignment. So that's how teachers will pull this into their courses. Okay, next you have the grading schemes. By default, Canvas has a grading scheme of A, A-, B+. So if you want to have an account level or a sub-account grading scheme, you can create these. And these items can be created at the course level too, but each time they do it, they would have to recreate it. So it's best to do it at the high level, so it saves everyone work. You would add a grading scheme on the upper right, and the default Canvas grading scheme will show up, and you would just name it. So you could say the UW grading scheme, and then you can insert what it is, how you want to do it. You know, what, if pass or fail, complete or incomplete, you know, ABC, whatever it is. You can also change the percentage. So when you change the, like 90%, it will automatically change the next column. So you only have to change the percentage on the right-hand side. So if I just wanted ABCs here, I could do it that way and then delete all the other ones. So you just hit the X to delete, and then you can save this. So we have these examples here. So if I go back into that course and I go to my course settings, and then I edit the course settings here, you'll see that I have this enable course grading scheme. Normally this is not checked, so I can just check this box that says view grading scheme. It shows the grading scheme that I'm currently using, but I just use this little magnifying glass and I can find all of the account level grading schemes. So I can select which one I want to use for this course, and then hit use this grading scheme. And now that's going to be the grading scheme that will be used in this particular course. And then finally, of the shared resources is the question banks. So you can go in and add on the upper right a question bank. You just name it, hit enter, and then you click on the title to open up the question bank to add the questions. On the right-hand side is like your to-do area. You can align an outcome to an entire question bank, not to a particular question, but an entire question bank. And I can add a question to this question bank. And there you have your standard multiple choice, true, false, drop matching. We have formula questions, file uploads, essays. So you have various questions to choose from. The good thing about creating question banks at the account level, so if you have a whole department, like maybe the math department, every single user has to take a math test before they get into their first class in math, or algebra, calculus, whatever. They could take a test, and you could have this test at the account level that the department or the professor can pull questions from to administer this test. So it's a great way to share it among a whole department or sub-account or college. However, you have to add the questions one by one at the account level. At the course level, if they have publisher content or QTI format, they can pull in those questions in bulk at the course level, but at the account level, it's manually one by one at this time. So that is a feature request too, to be able to pull in data in bulk at the account level. So you have a plus and minus there on how you want to handle those question banks. So do you have any questions on the shared resources, outcomes, rubrics, grading schemes, and question banks? Okay, also, a couple things. We have a new, relatively new attendance tool. So if you have any faculty that are using attendance, this is a new tool that you have that teachers can take attendance and you can run reports on those attendance. I'm not sure why it's not showing up here. You also have, we also have chat available. So if I go into a course here, go into a kindergarten course. I think we have chat here actually. So if I go into a course, there'll also be chat where students can go in and chat with each other. So you can see who else is online and you can have a conversation. So it will show you on the right who's here and you can chat with each other. And this is another new tool that you can add at the account level. If your teachers do not want to have, so here I have attendance and chat. As a teacher, if I don't want those, I can remove them from view from the students and then they don't have access to it, so they don't even know it's there. So those are a couple options you can add at the account level to make available to your users if they want to use those items. Oh, and so here's the report data that you can pull. If you do pull a report, just make sure the email address here is the email you want that report to be sent to.
We have a question.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
How do you at the account level activate attendance and chat? Because we don't have them activated, and we would like to.
Okay, I can have that. That's actually something we do for you, so I'll activate those two for you. So those will be on today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So today you'll see the attendance here, and chat you'll see in the courses themselves. So that is everything. Do you guys have any questions? Is there anything I can show you or anything you have questions about that I can help with?
Did you skip over the authorization part or authentication part?
Authentication? Oh, I know I must have forgot. I don't go into this in a lot of detail. This is something Chris will actually help you with. But you're using Shibboleth, is that right? So this is like I said, Chris could help you get this set up. But this is where you would select the format that you want to use for authentication to create those single sign-on. So it just depends on which company you're using to do that. But Chris can guide you in this in more detail. I just kind of show you where it is.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Sure, sorry about that. Any other questions or anything that you're curious about that you might want me to cover?
Sam, I have a question. So is Chris going to help us do all this setup, even though we need to have all this set up by today?
You have to have all this set up today?
Yeah, we're piloting this starting Monday, and they knew that. And so as you were talking, I was going in through our test system, and there's a lot of stuff we don't have set up that has me quite concerned. And so did you guys talk about that at all on your call today, or on Monday that I missed?
No.
Can you hold on 1 second?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, she has us on hold. My question to you guys, my bigger thing is I think the courses will work. My concern is we probably have it opened up wider than we have ever intended to open it up. And as we figure these things out, we'll probably start stripping things from people.
Hey there, I pulled Chris in. He sits right outside of where I am. So I pulled him in so he can show you this authentication and answer those questions for you.
Well, the authentication piece I'm not that concerned about because we're going to manually do it at least until we have our Shibboleth piece set up, which we'll probably have set up hopefully in the next month. And so that part on the authentication I'm not that worried about, but really I am on where my concern was permissions, roles, and all of that stuff. We kind of have everyone as account admins, which is a problem.
Yeah.
Except if you're a student, but it seems like everybody else is an account admin, and so I think we need to kind of clean that up before Monday.
That would be something that you guys would do that I showed earlier when you go into the permissions.
So you're really static now?
Oh, it's all staticky now?
Yeah.
So when you go into your account roles, this is where you can set those up. So you just need to think about what type of roles that you want to have at your account.
Let's call you back because this is a really staticky connection.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, we'll call you right back.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know, should I say this? Yeah.
Okay, we're back. Can you hear us okay? Or is it still staticky?
It's really bad. Can you give us a call back? Because we don't hear it until we actually connect to your number.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what number? How long did you say?
Oh, it is? Okay, wait. Let me find it here. It's area code 307-766-9888.
So 307-766-9888?
Yes.
Okay. We'll call you back.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
the teacher role can do by default, and those types of things that are happening basically in this account settings area. The course level roles are things that the students and the teachers and the TAs and the observers can do within the context of the course, whether they can, or who gets to add new students to those courses, who gets to reply to discussions, who gets to create new discussion topics, who gets to send conversation messages to all of the users in the class, things that are just pertinent to the class. Whereas the account level roles will be things that are pertinent to the account administration, such as creating new terms, allowing people to send SIS imports into the Canvas system, and things that would happen at the account level.
Okay, so deliver to an account admin that has rights to pretty much do everything at the account level, correct?
Excuse me?
So our delivered environment account role, we get account admin only. And so if we want to start restricting at the account level various groups like support staff, teacher admin, and that stuff.
That's correct. That's correct. So I believe that all of you were initially entered into your account as account admins, which means that you have pretty much full bore permissions to do most anything. Actually, pretty much everything. And so if there are people who need to have permissions at the account level, but don't necessarily need all of the permissions that you have to manage the account, for somebody who's like a department chair who will need to have access to all of the courses that are in a particular account or a particular sub-account, you can set that specific account role to either be able to have a specific permission line item or to not have a specific permission line item. Then you can add that user to that role from the settings page on the admin tab. When you go to the settings page into the admin tab, and we can navigate right over there, you will see as you go to, if you scroll down, as you go to add an account admin, you have the drop-down box, and you can say what role you want that user to be at the account or at that sub-account level. These permissions can be set at the root account, also at any sub-account. So for your College of Business, College of Nursing, College of whatever, you can have roles that are specific to that sub-account rather than having your department chair of your nursing department have permissions and have a role that could go beyond their normal scope.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Are we okay there?
Yeah, we just need to clean ours up.
Yeah, and so that was something that when Chris and I saw that, there were quite a few people who had that account admin role, so we didn't know who needed to be set as the account admin and who you wanted to limit that down to. Since you don't have any courses or any users really in the system quite yet, then it's yeah, and so that's why we had that as kind of a task to follow up with you on to make sure that those account admins were cleaned up and only the people who you wanted to have access at that account level had access at the account level.
So Chris, is that something you work with us on over the next several weeks? Or, I mean, given the fact that our pilot goes live Monday, to me it seems like we're in a crunch mode in the next 2.5 days to kind of clean this up for that piece. So that's where I guess from Dianna, I wasn't sure what our plans are. Based on this training, are we supposed to schedule our own little meetings and get things set up, or is that something you help us walk through as an implementation?
As the implementation consultant, what I'll do is I will be able to help you with any questions or obstacles that you guys come up with. I don't know how you are going to want to have your individual roles set up or what permissions you will want for those individual roles. So that's usually an internal discussion. Once you have an understanding of what types of roles you want for the different account roles, then I would be happy to help you get the permissions set up and to see what permissions need to be enabled in order to access those specific things, and to not have access to the things that you don't want to have them access to.
Okay, that makes more sense then.
Okay, yeah.
We'll all have other questions. I didn't take off that. I think that covers it. I think we have some stuff we need to get worked out.
Okay, and please, you have my desk phone, you have my cell phone, you have my email. Please reach out to me and let me know how I can give assistance and how I can help you figure out what we can do to get everything up and going before your pilot starts.
Okay, fantastic.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Do you have any other questions, or?
I think we're good.
Okay, great. You guys have a great day. Okay, thank you.